Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Techno Update. It is Friday, the 27th of February. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. It is purely to demonstrate how I try to read the market, and I talk about the market in general from my experience using technical indicators and the technical analysis and some behavioral science behind it. Anyway, let's start with Nvidia, where we also ended yesterday and the day before. So we had the earnings announcement from Nvidia in the aftermarket. This is a 5-minute chart of Nvidia, and we can see this was the aftermarket trading, and the yellow here was the pre-market trading yesterday. So we had the earnings coming out. It dipped a little bit and then it shot higher, and it traded up to around 203, 4, 5, something like that, and then it fizzled a little bit. And especially in pre-market trading, when analysts and traders and investors had digested the earnings, and actually it was during the conference call with the CEO that I already started to fizzle, and it did so also pre-market. You see it started trading lower already pre-market here, and it continued throughout the session, and closed lower at around 185, 6 something. Anyway, let's move on to the weekly chart and the daily chart. Here's the daily chart, what actually took place. You can see how the day of there's no aftermarket or pre-market trading on the daily chart. That was purely on the intraday chart. But we had this close here above 193.63, but it failed to close. That was the really key one, 196, where it got hit by massive selling back in November last year, 20th of November. It needed to take that out and close above it to squeeze out the short sellers here on all the to make them change their mind, and it failed. So now we are back in this neutral position here in the cloud. We are around all the moving averages, basically flat, because we can also see that Nvidia has been flat for months now, 1, 2, 3 months in the broader picture. But it's not good news for Nvidia. Yes, it did close above 60 RSI threshold there, but maybe that could just be a blip and a false break. So that will be key to what's in the coming weeks. What will it actually do? Excuse me. You had the 200 moving average, daily moving average coming up here. It will add some support, but if it starts sliding back lower to this 170 level, 167, that could really spell trouble for Nvidia. Of course, it's built also everything was built all to the SOX index, the semiconductor ETF here, the iShares semiconductor, and they actually had this bearish candle here yesterday. Previous day was a bullish candle, so we have kind of a top and reversal pattern going on. We can also see we did have a higher close on the 25th, but we didn't get any support from the RSI. It actually is lower here, so exhaustion mode there. But for now, still in a bullish trend, but it could be challenged by 345 if it takes that out. Nasdaq 100 also, of course, weighing heavily on that. And it is a little worrying to see that we are back below, or we failed to close above the 55 moving average. We failed to close above the cloud, and we are back below the 100 moving average. So key again, 24,500. If it's taken out, well, then we're looking at 23,970, possibly all the way down to 23,000, 22,960, 23,000 area. That could play out in March, and that will be a little bit of worry if that does play out. So that will be key towards these levels there. The pre-market here on the Nasdaq future is a little bit lower, but still intact. This slightly bullish trend, but there's negative sentiment, and again it also failed to close above 55 moving average. S&P 500 also got hit, of course, but not as hard. It's still above the cloud, still above the 100 moving average, but it's not really doing anything. So you can see still in this range bound here for 2-3 months now, and it's still 6,789. That is the next key support. The pre-market we can see, well, it's basically trading unchanged on the future there. The Dow Jones index, we have the future here. Also, the Dow Jones also set back, and we have the pre-market. This is the future we're looking at. Yes, we closed above the cloud, but still negative sentiment. So let's see what will. It could be interesting times here then the coming weeks. The Russell 2000 small cap index is still in a sideways range, trading slightly bullish undertone and positive sentiment, but it could easily turn around. So keep an eye on the supports there that I talked about for so long. Seng bounced from the 55 moving average, so still in this range here between 26,264 and 27,398, this level here. Then we have, that is the really key levels to watch out for. So until it breaks out of that, we don't get any direction. The Nikkei set back a little bit further. This is the future and seems to be bouncing from the previous peak there, and the resistance now it's a support, dip below and could bounce higher. But again, we have this warning sign here with the RSI indicator indicating uptrend exhaustion. European markets, basically yesterday a tad lower, but it actually spiked higher during the session, closed a little bit lower. So we're still in this bullish trend. It's a little bit stressed given the fact that the RSI hasn't followed that well with it. But the undertone is still positive and bullish, but it's just a warning sign that it is a little bit stressed. The pre-market, we can see that it is sitting back a little bit further, but it's and I think maybe we could have a negative day, but we are still in this uptrend here. The DAX index testing the previous peak there yesterday, so it actually had a fairly good day yesterday too, and it's still in a bullish trend, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and a new possibly higher high. Let's see what that can what it can do today. A little bit back here, 0.25% indicated pre-market. Moving on to the forex markets, and your dollar is a little bit dull at the moment. Needs to take out that peak there for really to lift and bounce, and or take out 117.40 to the downside. So it's 118.35 to the. So very narrow range there really. That could tell something about the direction. If it takes out the lows there, well, then it will probably also take out the falling trend line that it bounced from, and we could see it down to these levels here around 116.75. Sterling dollar still rejected at the falling trend line there yesterday, so it's still in this depressed mode or bearish trend there. Still positive sentiment, so indicating it could. It should bounce higher, but for now there's no indication that it will do that. I think if it takes out the peak from yesterday at 135.75, then maybe we could have it, but we can see the 21 moving average dipping around there, the 55 kind of flat, and the 100 there, and the 200. Well, they're giving some support, but it's not really indicating higher levels. So keep an eye on this level there if you're trading sterling dollar. Euro sterling, on the other hand, finally yesterday, and is following through this morning here, taking out the resistance there at 87.50, pushing higher to the 61.8 retracement. It's going to be touched here shortly, and we could see a push up to around the 88.10 level here, where we have some little bit of resistance. RSI currently back above 60 threshold. Actually didn't close above yesterday, but if it can stay above today, well, then there is further upside potential in it. We can see the 200 moving average here, it's slightly rising, so medium to term it seems to be supporting higher levels. Dollar yen fairly quiet after being rejected here, the 786 retracement at 156.55. and could slide back. It needs to take out that peak there at 156.85. If it does that, then we are probably taking out also this resistance there at 157.70. So that is the key level to watch out for. Otherwise, we could slide back. But as I said, I think we could be range bound in this area here between 154 and 157 for a little while. Euro yen also sliding back a little bit after closing above the cloud, but the RSI failed to close above the 60 threshold RSI, and that is key to confirm that we are back in bullish mode. We already have the indication here with trading above the cloud, but now it's back in neutral, so it can't really make up its mind. The Aussie yen bullish trend is still remaining and could push higher towards 112, 113 possibly, despite the fact, as we can see here, we actually do have a divergence on the RSI. We have had it for quite some time, as you can see, this falling trend line here. And also, if I draw this trend line here, very short term, it's actually even more clear and pronounced here lately, the past months or so. So it needs to break above that, and it needs to break above this also falling trend line there, really to indicate a strong bullish trend. But again, follow the trend, and it's still to the upside despite warning of exhaustion level. So keep on believing that. We have sterling yen got rejected at the 61.8 retracement there at 212, sitting back. Negative sentiment still here, so we could see it sliding back to around 208, and then we have the 100 moving average coming up, giving some support. So we could also be locked in a little bit here, unless it takes out that peak here from the 25th of February at 212.10. Then I think we will be range bound for quite some time. Aussie dollar bullish trends could take out that, and I still think we will see that despite the fact that we have falling RSI levels, and especially if it RSI takes out that horizontal line there at 70.29, so let's say 70.30, and the actual pair will close above this resistance there at 71.50. Dollar Canada sliding slowly back, and you can see what is knocking it down. First of all, the resistance there, we talked about it, and the 55 moving average coming down there. But then we have the 21, so I think for the rest of the week, we could see it just a sideways range, but going into next week, I think we will slowly see it sliding slowly lower, and if it takes out 135.85 here at the 61.8, then I think the downtrend has resumed. The Euro Swiss really not doing much, and we can see here it tested this minor resistance there once again at 91.50, but it's just a little bit dull towards, and then we have the 90.80 support here. It needs to break out, but overall we are in a bearish trend. We are negative sentiment despite the fact there is an indication of downtrend exhaustion, but we have all the moving average coming down via below the cloud. Dollar Swiss really, and as I said, there must be a misprint there, but because there's hasn't been any much trading going on, if we're looking on the intraday chart, so we are still here in a little bit sideways range, and key resistance 77.75. That should be observed, and the stronger one up here in the region around 78.25, where we have the 55 moving average coming down. So even if it pushes up there, then I think we'll be knocked back down with these moving averages. Negative sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, and if RSI moves back below 40 threshold, it would indicate stronger that we are in a bearish trend. Dollar index got rejected at 98, and that is the key strong resistance that should be observed. Can it break above it or not, or will it slide back? Negative sentiment tells us it will slide back, and also the declining moving averages is telling us the same. But again, things can turn out to do something that we we don't anticipate. So you should always anticipate the unexpected. So here 98 level, that is the key resistance. Moving on to the metals and here precious metals. Gold basically trading sideways here, and it is key, but we are in a positive sentiment. We are in a bullish trend, higher, 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 low, higher, higher, and a little bit of a setback. We could still see a little bit of a setback, but I still think that we'll see in short to medium term towards 5,340 a level there, the 786 retracement of this sell-off there. But again, keep an eye on it, and I will actually draw a trend line or a horizontal line if it starts taking out that 5,093 on the gold spot. Well, then we could see a correction lower towards 5,000, but the bullish trend will still remain. The silver spot, key resistance here at 92.20, that should be observed. It needs to break that out for really a push higher, and that will it could happen. We could also see it setting back a little bit before it happens, but we have the 55 moving average coming up behind the 100, 200, so, and we're above the cloud. So the underlying indicators are telling us we should push higher, but should have, would have, or could have is a different matter. But look at this. This is the platinum spot, and that pushed higher here in Asian session and seems to continue here in the European session, taking out the resistance there. RSI currently above the falling trend line and currently above 60 threshold. If that is also the case at the end of the day, well, then there's certainly much higher potential in store for potential in platinum towards 26, 2700, and maybe back to the peak here. So keep an eye on this. 55 moving average pushing up there. A really strong trend at the moment on indicators. Copper, very close to be knocking on the 611.55 resistance there. We have the 610.75 today. So that is key. I think it will take it out. We have RSI still positive. If it takes out and stays above the 60 threshold, and especially the falling trend line there, then I think we will see copper pushing much higher towards the previous peaks there. On the energy side, the WTI crude oil sliding back, a lot of volatility as we can see, but still in a bullish trend, and I think we will see it higher here in the coming weeks, but it's just taking some time. The same with obviously the Brent, a little bit lifted today, but it needs to take out to the other side if it will continue to, and I think it will, but we'll see. If it starts taking out the a rising trend line there, then we could see a larger correction. But look at this, we have the 55, 100, and the 200 coming up. So eventually, I think we will see it. It will get the upside will get some traction. The nat gas, European nat gas, large range bound trading as we talked about, 29 and a quarter and 34.40 here. That is the breakout. It needs to take either way to get a direction. The moving average doesn't really give us much guidance, so we will need for guidance before we do anything. We then have the US nat gas still trading below $3 and still could slide lower to 260. If it does that, that will be something to watch here next 2 days. On the yields and interest, US 10-year Treasury yields has just as we speak dipped below 4%, 3.999, and could test the 3.98 here, possibly today, and maybe then we are in for a push down to 3.93, these lows here. So that was a massive drop. We have seen negative sentiment. It's actually an all moving average is pointing to lower levels. I think we'll see it sliding lower here in the coming week. The European yields also declining, and I think we could see the EU 10-year testing the 61.8 retracement, and this cluster here, this consolidation area here around 267. Then I think we will see a bounce because we are a little bit oversold down here with the RSI around 26. UK 10 also continue lower, and I did show this a few days ago. You can see not much stopping it until around 420. But one thing to note, we are extremely oversold here at the moment. It can still continue lower, but you can just see every time it was, I mean, it's the lowest we have seen. It's even taking out this low there. So quite heavy, quite bearish, but also a little bit exhaustion mode could be seen short term. But don't catch a falling knife if you're trading UK gilts. Japanese 10 still is a 204 key support after bouncing. If it takes out that, well, then we have a larger correction down to 190 possibly. And finally, on Bitcoin, that had a fairly good day here. The other day bounced, but we are still in a bearish trend, and I think we will see Bitcoin lower here in the coming weeks. And the same picture on let's just go back here. Sorry, it's still 60,000, really key support, and Ethereum it's 1740. All right, that's all for today and for this week. Have a nice day and happy charting out there, as my friend David Linton says, and have a nice weekend.